What if creating cinematic phrases was as simple as drawing on the screen? Meet Twinkle, the new instrument from Sampleson, where every mouse drag becomes a burst of musical magic. Twinkle is not a synth, is not an instrument, actually it's a phrase generator. You draw and it composes. So every movement you make becomes a musical flourish, or musical arpeggios, so to speak, using some built-in composer tricks. There are smart intervals, resolution, and modal chorus, so whatever you play sounds intentional. We can start by having a look at the interface. We have the settings here, basically just the sample location and the zoom factor. Actually, the synth has some sample, but you can listen to the sample, to include the sample. Then we have some presets here. Let's have a listen to some of the presets very quickly. So I'm just dragging around my mouse and creating these small flourishes or embellishment or arpeggios. It's very suited for this kind of occasion and this kind of material, so cinematic movements. Let's have a listen to this. And here you can browse again the different patterns. I have created a couple of new presets for it. You can of course also play it with a standard keyboard, just to play the included preset and include the sounds which are here. So we are here in a harp now. And of course, this is the same sound that is used to play the flourishes. So if you want to listen to the same preset, you can, with another sample, you can simply move the sample. So it's kind of sketching some melody with a paintbrush. And we have a couple of sections here, because we have section A on the left and section B on the right. And in total you have 32 models and 5 styles. So you can select for part A a different scale, and on the manual there are the specific characteristics of the different scales. Of course there are happier scale, sadder scale, melancholic, so to speak. We have lots and lots of different scales, and you can get this on the left sound and on the right sound. Then you can select for each section, for part A and part B, the root note that you want the musical phrases to respond. So in this example, I have set both to E4 and E5. On the left, I have E4 as a root note, and again here I have the same note here, but I'm using two different scales. And then here you can specify the kind of movement that you want to have between the note when you drag the mouse. So random will of course output randoms. You can have runs or trills, or use a double morton or auxiliary trills. So there's a little bit of difference when you move the mouse around using the different movements or the different modes. Very subtle. And you can also specify the tempo for which the movement between the notes will occur. So here I'm using the 3. But if I move to 1/8, for example, the notes will be a little bit slower. Let's try a faster tempo. So this is very, very fast. Let's move to a very slow. You see, I'm now dragging the mouse and the notes are moving at half tempo, half bar. And actually, this is not a synth, as I was telling you. It's a phrase generator, because you can start recording, move the mouse around and play with the instrument, and then record the MIDI notes and then export them to your DAW. You can use, of course, Twinkle to play them back, or use any other synth or any other sampler you like. So let's try to have a small demo and then export the the result. So I'm hitting record here, so I'm using the same preset as before. Actually, it's a preset I have modified, and set it to 1.8. Let's start record. And then we can stop recording. And you see here we have a bunch of generated MIDI notes that I can export to my DAW. So let's drag and drop this to Logic, for example. Of course, Logic will ask me if I want to import the tempo. Actually, the Twinkle is set to 120 BPMs by standard, by default, and then you can, of course, change and move the tempo to anything you like. So I'm not using the tempo, but I can, of course, move the tempo around in Logic. So if I want to make it a little bit faster, I can, of course, adjust the tempo. And, of course, these are just MIDI notes, and then we'll follow the tempo of the song. Okay, so let's try, yeah, very simple. Very simply, let's edit the MIDI, and let's play it back using Twinkle, and maybe I will also move and change the sound. Yeah, so there are some very basic samples in Twinkle itself. We have only six of them. But a nice thing is that you can move the MIDI region to another instrument. So for example, let's close Twinkle for a moment. I have here chromophone, which is a very nice synth or modeling synth for mallets, bells, and stuff like that. So we can play it back using another instrument, of course. Yeah, and of course we get a completely different attitude and a completely different atmosphere. Of course, we can layer the two parts. We can use the two parts in combination using Twinkle as a sound source, and then also layering on top of it chromophone or any other instrument you would like to have. Let's try to have them together side by side like this. So I will use the sine bell sound here and this same preset in chromophone, and let's have a listen to them. And we can also change the preset, for example, in chromophone. So yes, as you can hear, is not exactly just for cinematic sound or film composing or scoring movies. Of course, Harry Potter comes to mind, or any fantasy movie should be a good candidate for this. But you can use the generated MIDI note and generated flourishes and runs and trills for any kind of situation. I'm using here chromophone, but of course you can set it up to any kind of instrument you like. Of course, it's just MIDI note, and the MIDI note will follow your tempo. Specifically here, you can set up the tempo unless you set them for free, of course, and it will play back at the same tempo that you decide. So let's have a listen to some other ideas. So maybe let's go back and browse something from the standard presets. So you can, for example, there are also some time preset. So let's use these 8 time volts. So let's try to hit record. It's on G sharp 4 and D sharp 6 here on the right. So again, I'm just dragging my mouse and the notes are playing by themselves. And you can hear as the scale changes from right to left. Okay, let's stop recording again and let's drag and drop the mouse. Well, let's drag and drop it directly on chromophone. I don't want to follow the tempo, and so let's set it to a very good loop. Let's try to maybe change the kind of sound. Let's have a listen before. Yeah, this is kind of nice. It's a pad with some bells in it. Okay, let's try to play it using the MIDI notes generated by Twinkle. Yeah, it can also be used on percussive sounds, as you can hear. Of course, the MIDI notes will play some percussions. So, all in all, it's not just a synth, not just an instrument for flourishes and film composition again, but you can use it maybe to sparkle some magic atmosphere in your tracks. So if you want to demo it, you can go to Sampleson website. It's just $29, I believe. So you can check it out and let me know what you think about it. And if you make some music with it, I will be happy to listen to it. So if you like this video, please subscribe and hit the bell for notification, and see you in a future video. Bye bye.